Have you ever been asked, "How are you feeling?" And suddenly, your mind goes completely blank, not because nothing is there, but because there is too much there at the same time, and none of it can find its way into words. Most people assume this is confusion, or overthinking, or difficulty expressing emotions. But that's not what's happening here. What's actually happening is this. Emotion is arriving in the body, faster than language can translate it. And when that gap becomes too wide, the system doesn't speak. It freezes. Some people don't experience feelings as sentences. They experience them as pressure, heat, tension, a tight chest before a thought appears, a heaviness in the throat before a word forms. And by the time the mind tries to name it, the moment has already passed into silence. Not because you don't understand yourself, but because you feel it too deeply, too quickly, and too fully for words to hold at once. This is what psychology calls a freeze response, not something you choose, something your nervous system chooses for you. When emotional intensity crosses a threshold, the brain prioritizes protection over expression. So instead of words, you get silence. And in that silence, you are not empty. You are overwhelmed beyond translation. We often assume that if you can't explain something, you don't understand it. But that isn't true. There is an entire layer of human experience that exists before language, before logic, before explanation. Emotion doesn't begin as words. It begins as sensation. And sensation is not always meant to be spoken immediately. This is also why many people struggle when they try to just talk about it. Because talking assumes something important, that the feeling is already in word form. But for many people, it isn't. It's still raw, unshaped, untranslated. And when you force it into sentences too quickly, something gets lost. Not the emotion itself, but the experience of being fully understood by it. Before you speak, your body has already spoken. A tight jaw, a held breath, a sudden silence in conversation. These are not random reactions. They are language in another form. The body does not wait for permission. It responds honestly. And when words are unavailable, the body becomes the storyteller. So instead of forcing words, what if expression started somewhere else? Movement, sound, color, rhythm. Something that doesn't ask you to explain yourself first. Because sometimes healing doesn't begin with understanding. It begins with release. A hand moving across a page, a sound that matches what cannot be said. A moment where the nervous system finally feels safe enough to move again. So if you've ever gone silent when someone asked how you feel, that silence was not emptiness. It was fullness without translation. Nothing in you was missing. It was simply unspoken. And what is unspoken is still very much alive. So if this video made sense in a place where words usually don't reach, then this space is probably for you. Because here, we don't rush emotion into explanations. We learn how to understand what's happening inside, gently, and at your own pace. And if you find yourself drawn to this kind of psychology, the kind that explores silence, emotion, and what lies beneath language, then I want to invite you to subscribe. Because this isn't just another psychology channel. It's a space where you slowly begin to understand yourself, a little more each time you return. Go ahead and hit subscribe, and stay with me for the next one.